Hello and welcome. This is Notibot ENG. We have breaking news from the Middle East that's left the world on edge. The United States and Iran are locked in a tense standoff, with tensions escalating over the past week. We'll be diving into the details of the war of words between U.S. President Donald Trump and Iranian leaders, including the shocking comments made by Trump himself. Expect analysis from top pundits and reactions from world leaders. Our recap will bring you the latest on what sparked this crisis and what it means for global oil markets. The escalating tensions between the U.S. and Iran have reached a boiling point, with a complex web of incidents sparking a full-blown conflict. The roots of the current tensions between the U.S. and Iran date back to the 1953 coup that overthrew democratically elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh. The CIA and British intelligence agencies, in a joint operation known as Operation Ajax, played a significant role in orchestrating this event. Mossadegh had been elected in 1951, and his government had taken control of the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, which was then controlled by British interests. This move was seen as a threat to Western powers, particularly the United States and Britain. President Dwight Eisenhower, who was then the U.S. president, was concerned about the potential disruption to the global oil supply and the possibility of Iran falling under Soviet influence. The British, on the other hand, were worried about losing their cheap source of oil. The joint operation, which was carried out without the knowledge of the Iranian government, was successful in convincing the Shah of Iran to dismiss Mossadegh and drive him from office. This event marked the beginning of a long-standing relationship between the U.S. and Iran that has been characterized by hostility and mistrust. The U.S. has consistently supported the Shah's regime, despite its human rights abuses, and has imposed economic sanctions on Iran in an attempt to curb its nuclear program. In 1984, the U.S. State Department listed Iran as a state sponsor of terrorism, alleging that the Iranian government provides terrorists with training, money, and weapons. Meanwhile, tensions in the Middle East escalate as a major strike in Iran's energy sector brings the region's fragile security to the forefront once again. Israel has struck Iran's largest petrochemical facility in an attack that has sparked concerns over the region's stability. The strike, which took place on Tuesday, targeted the Siraf petrochemical complex in the Khuzestan province, according to Iranian state media. The facility, which is owned by the state-owned company Petropetrol, is a major producer of ethylene and other chemicals used in the production of plastics and other materials. The attack, which is believed to have been carried out by Israeli fighter jets, is seen as a significant escalation in the long-running conflict between Israel and Iran in the Middle East. Tensions have been high between the two countries in recent weeks, with Israel accusing Iran of supporting militant groups in the region and Iran claiming that Israel is trying to destabilize the region. The strike has sparked fears of a wider conflict, with some analysts warning that it could lead to a war between Israel and Iran. The United States has also been watching the situation closely, with President Donald Trump warning that any attack on U.S. interests in the region could lead to severe consequences. The attack on the petrochemical facility is seen as a significant blow to Iran's economy, which is already struggling under the weight of international sanctions. The strike is also likely to have significant implications for the global supply of chemicals and other materials, which are used in a wide range of industries. As tensions escalate over Iran's nuclear deal, a new warning from a familiar foe raises concerns about a potential dramatic escalation. President Donald Trump has increased his warnings to Iran, stating that the country will take out its military capabilities if Tehran fails to comply with a deadline to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The deadline, which is set for Tuesday, comes after a series of attacks on civilian infrastructure in the region. In a series of tweets over the weekend, Trump warned Iran that it will face big trouble and will be hated if it continues to block the waterway. He also stated that the U.S. is ready to make war with Iran if necessary. Iran's foreign ministry has rejected a ceasefire proposal put forward by the U.S. and its allies, with a spokesperson stating that the country's military options are open. The Strait of Hormuz is a critical waterway that supplies oil to the world's top economies. Iran's decision to block the strait has raised concerns among global powers, who fear that it could lead to a wider conflict. The situation has been escalating since last month, when the U.S. and Iran exchanged missile strikes. The conflict has already led to the deaths of at least 25 people and has raised tensions in the region. The U.S. has increased its military presence in the region, with additional troops and equipment being deployed to the area. Iran has also been building up its military capabilities, including developing new ballistic missiles. The stakes are high, with a failure to reach a deal potentially leading to a wider conflict. The world is watching as the situation in the Strait of Hormuz continues to unfold. Tonight, we take a look at the latest response from Senator Bernie Sanders on President Trump's recent comments about Iran, describing them as a personal attack. Good evening, I'm your name, and this is a news recap. In a shocking development, President Trump sparked outrage with a post on his social media platform, attacking Iran over the Strait of Hormuz. The president's comments came on Easter Sunday, 1 month after the U.S. started a military conflict with Iran. Senator Bernie Sanders, a vocal critic of the administration, has reacted with fierce condemnation. According to Sanders, President Trump's comments were ravings of a dangerous and mentally unbalanced individual. The Strait of Hormuz is a crucial waterway that connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and is home to some of the world's most important oil supplies. The U.S. has been actively working to secure the region, following a series of attacks on oil tankers and military bases. The U.S. has blamed Iran for the attacks, while Iran has denied responsibility. President Trump's comments suggest that the U.S. is seeking to escalate the conflict rather than de-escalate it. This has raised serious concerns among diplomats and analysts, who warn of the potential for a catastrophic escalation of the conflict. The situation is already tense, with Iranian officials vowing to retaliate against any U.S. attack. The situation is also deeply personal, with President Trump and Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, having a long and contentious history. The U.S. has imposed sanctions on Iran, which has had a devastating impact on the country's economy. The situation is spiraling out of control, and it remains to be seen how the U.S. will respond to Iran's growing aggression. For the latest on the escalating tensions between the U.S. and Iran, we turn to the outspoken commentary of sports icon turned commentator Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith's scathing criticism of President Trump's comments on Iran has sparked widespread outrage, with many calling for the president to apologize for his remarks. On Friday, President Trump tweeted that Iran should open up the Strait of Hormuz, a vital waterway for global oil supplies, after a U.S. drone strike that killed a top Iranian military commander. In a surprising and inflammatory twist, Trump used an expletive in his tweet, sparking a heated reaction on social media. The conflict began on Friday when the U.S. drone strike killed Major General Qasem Soleimani, Iran's most powerful military commander, in an operation authorized by President Trump. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, vowed revenge against the U.S., and in response, the U.S. increased its military presence in the region. The Strait of Hormuz, which connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman, is a critical waterway for the global oil industry, with over 20% of the world's oil passing through it. Trump's comments have been widely condemned, with many critics accusing the president of using inflammatory language and escalating tensions in the region. Stephen A. Smith, a sports commentator and outspoken Trump critic, was particularly scathing in his response, calling the president's comments the most egregious example of a leader's poor judgment I've seen in a long time. The incident has raised concerns about the stability of the region and the potential for further conflict. As tensions in the Middle East continue to simmer, the global oil market is experiencing another surge, driven by uncertainty about the Iran conflict. Oil prices surged on Sunday as traders awaited word on the future of the Iran war, sending Brent crude oil above $110 per barrel. The news comes as President Trump is signaling major escalation in the conflict, but also told Axios that the U.S. is in deep negotiations with Iran. According to reports, Trump is threatening to bomb Iran's power plants and bridges starting Tuesday if the regime doesn't open the Strait of Hormuz. The strait is a critical waterway for global energy flows, and any disruption to it could have far-reaching consequences for the global economy. The situation is fluid, with both the U.S. and Iran issuing statements that contradict each other. Trump's comments have been seen as a threat, while Iran's leaders have dismissed them as an attempt to intimidate. Meanwhile, the U.S. military is on high alert, with troops and equipment deployed to the region. The situation matters because it has the potential to disrupt global energy flows on a massive scale. If the Strait of Hormuz is closed, it could lead to a shortage of oil and other energy resources, driving up prices and causing economic disruption. The US, Europe, and other countries rely heavily on the strait for their energy needs, and any disruption could have serious consequences. The world is watching the situation closely, and traders are reacting to the uncertainty with steep price movements in oil markets. As the situation continues to unfold, one thing is clear: the stakes are high, and the outcome is far from certain. That's all for today's news recap. Thank you for watching. If you want to stay up to date on the latest news, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. We'll keep you informed on the stories that matter. Until next time, good night, and we'll see you again soon.